America in focus. Jobs and a solid showing by big companies dominated news on the economic front. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Add AP News on Google. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Share. In the past week, many Americans remained focused on the economy, inflation, and how those forces could impact their lives. Trips to the grocery store or gas station are more painful than they were last year, and that is impacting the decisions of both households and businesses. Here's a snapshot of prominent economic data and news that occurred over the past week and what it potentially means for you. U.S. employers added a surprising 115,000 jobs. Last month, America's employers delivered a surprising 115,000 new jobs. Last month, despite an economic shock from the Iran war. Hiring was better than the 65,000 forecasters had expected, though it decelerated from the 185,000 jobs created in March. The unemployment rate remained at a low 4.3%, the Labor Department reported Friday. Healthcare added 37,000 jobs last month and retailers 22,000. However, manufacturers cut 2,000 jobs in April and have said 66,000 jobs over the past year despite President Donald Trump's protectionist policies aimed at creating factory jobs. Average long-term U.S. mortgage rate rises. The average long-term U.S. mortgage rate rose again this week, reflecting ongoing bond market volatility as surging oil prices due to the war with Iran heightened inflation worries. The benchmark 30-year fixed-rate mortgage rate rose to 6.37% from 6.3% last week, mortgage buyer Freddie Mac said Thursday. That's still down from 1 year ago, when the rate averaged 6.76%. This is the second straight weekly increase, bringing the average rate back to where it was 4 weeks ago. U.S. jobless claim applications climb, but still at historically low levels. Weekly U.S. jobless claim applications rose last week but remain at historically low levels despite elevated inflation and other economic headwinds. The number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits in the week ending May 2 rose by 10,000 to 200,000, the Labor Department reported Thursday. That's fewer than the 205,000 new applications analysts surveyed by the data firm FactSet were expecting. The previous week's new claims figure, which was the fewest since 1969, was revised up by 1,000 to 190,000. Weekly filings for unemployment benefits are considered a proxy for U.S. layoffs and are close to a real-time indicator of the health of the job market. Read more. U.S. job openings unchanged in March, but hiring improved. U.S. job openings were essentially unchanged in March, but hiring improved before the full impact of the Iran war hit the economy. Employers posted 6.87 million jobs in March, compared to 6.92 million in February, the Labor Department reported Tuesday. The job market has been up and down so far this year after a dismal 2025, and the Iran war, which began Feb. 28, has clouded the outlook for the economy and hiring. The job openings and labor turnover survey showed that layoffs rose in March, but hiring improved. Employers added 5.55 million gross jobs, the most since February 2024. More Americans also quit their jobs, a sign of confidence in their prospects. Markets head toward records on better-than-expected job market news. U.S. stocks rose toward new highs to end the week on promising news in the labor market, and also more strong earnings for major U.S. corporations. The S&P 500 climbed 0.5% toward an all-time high after a report said U.S. employers added 115,000 more jobs than they cut last month, even though the war with Iran is raising fuel costs and uncertainty for everyone. While hiring slowed from March's level, it was nevertheless nearly double what economists expected, and it kept the S&P 500 on track for a sixth straight winning week, which would be its longest such streak since 2024. The U.S. stock market has blasted higher since late March, in part on hopes that the war will not mean a worst-case scenario for the global economy, and that the Strait of Hormuz will reopen to allow oil tankers to deliver crude from the Persian Gulf again,